Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers, and today we're going to be talking about this. This is the Saucony Ride 14. It's a minor update to the Saucony Ride 13. Saucony claims this is a shoe that can do it all on the roads. We have been testing it for over 200 miles and we're going to tell you if it lives up to that billing. So let's kick off with some all-important stats then. Well, the Ride 14 is going to come in at 266 grams in the men's and 238 grams in the women's. That's about 11 grams or so lighter in the men's and about 6 grams lighter in the women's. You've got an 8mm drop, which is exactly the same as the Ride 13, and the pricing is exactly the same as that last generation shoe, £125 and $130. So the Ride 14 is really designed as a daily trainer. It's the kind of shoe that is aiming to get kind of a balance between comfort, agility, and protection and durability. It's a shoe that wants to offer kind of cushioning and protection over long runs, but the kind of shoe that you can use when you're going to go and do your long Sunday run, where you might be kind of going easy to begin with, then upping the tempo for certain kind of interval sections. And in truth, not a lot really has changed here from the Ride 13. It's marginally lighter than its predecessor, but it's still a mid-weight shoe. Underfoot, it runs the same as the Ride 13. That's because you've got the same sort of midsole stack of power run foam. That's supposed to be a bit like Adidas's Boost foam in terms of its kind of responsiveness. But what you're really getting here is something more akin to kind of perhaps a more traditional running shoe, where you are getting cushioning, you are getting a little bit of response, but it's not in that guise of those sort of squish and release sort of super foam shoes that we have sort of seen more of in recent times. The outsole has identical grip to the Ride 13. Nothing has changed there. That's there to add kind of good traction and durability. It's exactly the same as what you were getting before. There's strategically blown kind of rubber on the outsole here, as you can see. And then the main but very kind of minor changes come into the upper. So what you've got is a slightly less dense, slightly more breathable and lightweight mesh upper here. That is where the weight savings are coming, around 10 grams or so on the men's shoe and around the same on the women's. What you're still getting is the same kind of thick padded laces, which kind of offer a bit of sort of comfort and luxury. There's no kind of pressure from the lace. You've got a big kind of fat padded tongue here as well, and kind of these really quite padded heel sort of collars that you've got pretty much the same on the Ride 13. So even though you've got kind of a lighter, more ventilated mesh, you've still got kind of good enough kind of structure and protection here to hold your foot kind of solid and firm in place and give you that nice bit of protection. And then when it comes to this kind of padding around the heel collar and in the tongue and those kind of nice padded laces, what you're going to get here is a really sort of plush ride, which kind of makes you want to put these on actually and go and run in them from that sort of overall sort of easy comfort point of view.
The Ride 14 fit true to size for me. It's got a nice comfortable fit, plenty of padding, nice amount of room in the toe box. All good on that front.
So in terms of fit, no real complaints from me on that front. It's been a really comfortable shoe to run in, very similar to what I felt kind of running in the Ride 13. There are some changes in the upper, which, to be honest, I can't say I really noticed in comparison to the 13. I think what I would say is that a kind of change in the silhouette and the profile of the shoe maybe makes it a more accommodating for kind of wider size of kind of feet. I think there's a little bit more kind of space on top on the toe box, but generally in my kind of narrow foot, this UK size 8 kind of worked for me. I don't think I could go a size bigger. I wouldn't go probably a size lower than a 8 as well. So yeah, for me, all good. I still, you know, these spongy laces are different, but it's you know, a combination of this tongue, which has slightly changed, I think, from the Ride 13. It's not as plush, I don't think, but ultimately it's still very comfortable and keeps that kind of pressure off the top of your foot. And again, I think the finish on the material around the heel, kind of an ankle collar areas is a bit smoother than what you get on the Ride 13, but ultimately there's been no kind of ankle or heel slippage when I've been running, which I did kind of say initially that I was a bit wary about in my first run.
So like Nick and Mike, no problems with fit here. Ran true to size in an 8.5, which is my UK size. I had good foothold, good lockdown fit, no heel slipping, nice comfort around there, nice roomy toe box, just like the Ride 13. I think these ran really well, fit was spot on.
So I've done about 50k in the Ride, kind of split between kind of mix of easy runs and kind of easy to steady runs, including I did my kind of big Sunday long run in it 1 week where I progressed over 90 minutes from about 4:30 pace down to 3:45 a k pace. You know, kind of run at the end of a long week where you want, you know, a really nice shoe on your foot, a nice comfy shoe that's still got a bit of speed in it, and it ticks that box really well. I do think this is a really nice, accomplished all-round daily trainer. I have no huge faults with it, but I guess it just doesn't really suit my taste when it comes to daily trainers. Like, sometimes it was a little bit big on the foot for me, a little bit ponderous. It's got a reasonably snappy transition, but it's probably a firmish ride. I think I'd probably prefer a slightly softer shoe when it comes to daily training. And the same kind of goes for weight. It's not a heavy shoe, but I think I just prefer a slightly lighter shoe when it comes to daily training. So yeah, I think it's an all-round a really good shoe, but it's not one that really suits what I look for in a daily trainer. I say slightly big, slightly too heavy. Don't need all that much cushioning on the top that you get from it. So
when it comes to the run test, I did hundreds of miles in the Saucony Ride 13, and I've done at least 200 miles in the Ride 14. That's because one of its biggest strengths, I think, is versatility. Now, a lot of my running recently hasn't really been too intense. I've not been sort of out marathon training where I'm doing too much targeted training. I'm doing a lot of sort of general running for my own sort of mental stability and, just to keep fit. But what I have done is sort of change the paces around in this shoe. I have done some faster intervals. I have been on various different sort of terrains, like off-road sort of gravel compact paths, which is what my usual thing is, and roads, park loops, all those kinds of things. So mixed pace, mixed terrain, and I think this shoe works wonders on that terrain. I will say, I've said this in the videos before, I'm not a massive fan of big, pillowy, soft, squishy shoes. Nova Blast is one of those shoes that I always mention for kind of reference. This kind of runs a bit more like a traditional shoe. It is cushioned, but it's a little bit firmer underfoot. I find it sort of brilliant kind of for stability. Unlike Nick, actually, I find this to be sort of fairly lightweight and agile on the foot. I actually found it to feel like more lightweight and agile than the Nova Blast 2. I just felt like there's actually a little bit more compact, kind of less shoe about it. I know Nick kind of completely disagrees with me on that front. He wants something that's a little bit more exciting, a little bit more poppy. But I like something that gives you a bit more of a direct feeling underfoot, a little bit more contact with the ground. And sort of, dare I say, I like to sort of feel that my feet and my legs are doing the thing that they should be doing. I sometimes feel like shoes like the Nova Blast 2 are making my feet a bit lazy. I do wonder where all that impact goes when it's kind of compressing up and through the knees. So I kind of like my feet to work how they should work, and I think these shoes sort of facilitate that. So as I've said, I think they're sort of really stable over a wide range of terrain, and that's something I also do. I do a lot of kind of on and off road. They're not sort of trail shoes that I would take on steep descents, but they are certainly things that you could run through sort of national parks like I've got, where I've got a big kind of forest where you've got some sort of fairly easy sort of light trails to run. I also think this shoe offers sort of a decent range in terms of pace as well. I think it kind of is really sort of nice for me when I'm sort of going along at a slow clip without being over cushioned and too sort of sloppy and lazy. And then when you want to pick it up, there's just enough response. Yes, it's not going to be a race shoe. It's not going to be the shoe that I would pick to go and run a marathon, but I think actually lots of people could. And if you're looking for one shoe, if you can only afford one shoe, or you want one shoe that might be able to sort of do that kind of range of things, a good solid daily trainer that runs a little bit more like a traditional shoe, then I think this has a lot going for it, particularly at the price point. For me, it's got a good natural feel. It's very comfortable, very, very plush on the foot, plenty of wiggle room in the toe box. It holds nicely, no slipping, no hot spots, no trouble. And it's just a shoe that when I look down and think, how am I going to run today? If I don't know, it's a really easy shoe to pick up and pop on. And I know that I can sort of vary it if I feel good on that run, or if I want to sort of rein it in and drop back a bit. It just does it all. It's a really good do-it-all all-rounder for me personally in the way that I like to run.
So I've done well over 50k in these shoes now. What I can say overall, it is just a really enjoyable shoe to run in, essentially. It's a similar kind of experience to what I had with the Ride 13. I've chucked a lot of different runs at it, and I think if I just want something that I can just go out quickly, do some miles, do some stuff which just kind of pressure off, just go out there and run, even just going out and do some longer training runs, and even a little bit of shorter, quicker stuff as well. I think it kind of lends itself quite nicely to that. It's a very versatile shoe, I think. If you want to go a little bit quicker in it, you can do, so that's in its kind of locker, I think. I just think, the power run cushioning works really nicely for me. There's a little bit of bounce, but it's not too aggressive, and I think, you still get a lot in terms of stability and control in this. For me, I think, in terms of the upper changes and the slight kind of reduction in weight, it's not things that I've really kind of noticed in my runs. Obviously, it's a little bit more ventilated, but essentially, it's not something that feels very different from the Ride 13. The outsole, again, it's pretty much identical. There's a kind of bit of marking on the shoe. It's one that you could probably hit a little bit of off-road stuff, but essentially you want to stick to roads on it. But it's, there's no massive wear over the run, just that kind of discoloration on the shoe. But yeah, for me generally the Ride 14 has been as solid as what I got from the Ride 13. It's not massively different in terms of the running experience. It's nothing that I've kind of highlighted or found or noticed that is massively different, even though there are some upper changes. So yeah, for me in the run test, the Ride 14 has been really solid for me, and again, really enjoyable, and another great kind of solid shoe from Saucony that kind of fits that daily trainer profile. So my verdict on the Ride 14 is that it is just a really solid daily trainer, one that I've enjoyed running in. I think it's good for a lot of different sessions. I think you can go out and kind of do easy miles, tempo runs. I think you can go a little bit quicker in there if you want to. I think it's a shoe you could go to for a lot of different sessions. Now, in terms of how different it is from the Ride 13, I think if you can pick up the Ride 13 on sale, I would probably still go for that. I mean, I think the upper changes are not going to be hugely massive for a lot of people in terms of the differences, and I think the Ride 13 is still, a really solid shoe. You can get it on deal, then I would, suggest going for that. Other shoes worth looking at, kind of around this price range, I think, if the Ride and what Saucony does in terms of the tech in this shoe, then I think things like the Night Pegasus 38 I've really enjoyed running in. I think you've got a really nice upper on there. I think the Under Armour Velocity Wind I think is a really nice shoe as well, and that's kind of around this price range as well, and it's a really comfortable shoe to run in. I think what Under Armour has done with that shoe is really nice. It's another really good daily trainer option. And then, I've got to give a shout out to the Puma Velocity Nitro as well, which is significantly cheaper than this shoe. I think a little bit nicer to run quicker in for a daily trainer, and I kind of like what Puma's done in that midsole. So yeah, a few options there. I think with the Ride 14, I've really enjoyed running in it. It's in my daily trainer kind of picks if I'm not kind of running in the barefoots. But if you can pick up the Ride 13 and it will most definitely kind of be on sale, I think there's a lot to still say go for that shoe over this shoe if you can pick it up for cheaper.
So yeah, my verdict's pretty simple. I think this is a really good shoe, a really nice all-round shoe. Obviously the other guys really like it, and I think you can probably re-listen to them. They've obviously done more miles than it, because I just not got to about 50k, thought this is a nice shoe, well made, just not exactly the kind of shoe I look for in a daily trainer. Like I said, I like something that's a bit more lively or lighter or a bit softer and bouncier. Any of those things would really work for me, and it's just kind of more of a traditional, solid ride of a shoe, and that's just, I think there's slightly better options out there these days. I think you can actually get better options for slightly less money as well. We'll talk about the new Puma range. You've got some great shoes around the £100 mark. The Liberate Nitro is a really light shoe for £90. That's probably it probably doesn't have enough cushioning for me to use as a daily trainer, but the Velocity Nitro at £100 does, and I think I prefer the Ride of that to the Ride 14. It's a bit softer, a bit more fun, dare I say, a little bit more bounce to it, and the shoe does really well in lots of other boxes. I think it's probably about the same weight, but feels a bit lighter on the foot to me, feels a bit kind of more nimble. The Hoka on a Mach 4 is another really great shoe. I think that's probably my second favourite daily trainer out there. I think it's comfier than the Ride 14. It's got a smoother ride. I think it's very nippy. Can do probably faster sessions in it than I'd like to do in the Ride, but it also can handle big long runs. I've done a 20 miler in that and really love doing it. So yeah, that's one shoe I definitely have ahead of the Ride 14 for kind of similar purposes, but also being a bit more versatile. And I actually think the New Balance Rebel V2 is another great option around the same kind of price. It's a lot lighter, but it's got kind of a bigger stack of kind of soft, slightly springy fuel cell cushioning. Sometimes it can be a bit wobbly, but it wasn't really a concern when I was using it. I could use it for flat out recovery runs, of over an hour, and then go to the track in it and do hard reps, do kind of a hardish 10k in it as well. And I think it's a more versatile shoe that's kind of more interesting, exciting ride than the Ride 14. Of all of them, I'd be picking the Hoka out of them, but I think there's a few great shoes there that I think come in a little bit cheaper and just a bit more fun, or lighter, or softer, or something. So yeah, the Ride I think is a shoe more for people who really love that kind of traditional daily trainer feel, and that's great. It's just probably not the shoe that I'd choose.
So my verdict then, if you're looking for a good, solid, versatile all-rounder that offers good plush comfort, enough cushioning, but doesn't give that kind of big bouncy spring that you'll get with some other shoes, then this shoe does it. The one thing I will say actually is that there's so little to choose for me between the Ride 14 and the Ride 13. If you can pick up the Ride 13 cheaper, go for it. Don't worry about that too much. But yeah, and if you can get this kind of around £100, if you can get it on a deal, then I think it's an absolute steal if there's only one shoe that you want to have in your range. So there you have it, that's our look at the Saucony Ride 14 after hundreds of miles. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for other reviews that are coming up. We've got some big ones that we know you're going to like. You can also go and have a look at our Saucony Ride 13 review if you're wondering about how that shoe compares. And we've also just put up our best daily trainers video on the channel too, and that is well worth a look for shoes that might be alternative options to the Ride 14.